South Africa celebrates its 22nd year in a democracy. Now, for many people, this democracy looks a lot different than what was imagined in the beginning. I'm joined in studio by three wonderful women who are going to help us unpack what Freedom Day means to the young South African today. Guys, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
So, I mean, we've had a turbulent year. In the past year, we've had protests, we've had a lot of action in South Africa. I mean, some could say that our democracy is vibrant, but also turbulent. Do you think, and we'll start with you, Alex, that celebrating Freedom Day, we are in the right position now, that we are celebrating what was imagined in '94?
I think to sort of some sense, yes, we are. We are celebrating how far we've come, but there's so much to be done. And I think that's what the youth is kind of showcasing as well, that we're not complacent. I think a lot of the time we were sold this idea of the 1994 Rainbow Nation and what things should have been. And a lot of people are looking back at it now and going, wait, there's some unpacking that needs to be done here.
Absolutely.
So I think we're in a space of thinking, questioning, and doing. And I think that's really important for this country.
Absolutely. I mean, you went on to the idea of the Rainbow Nation, and a lot of the time, I mean, we all grew up, I mean, Taryn and I know each other for a long time, and the kind of idea that we're supposed to be this united front. How has that kind of broken down for you? And personally, if you reflect on your life, when did you realize that could be a disruption or a false idea?
Well, I think personally, with my positionality as a white woman in South Africa, I have this idea that there's a racial gap in how we're brought up. So I think particularly amongst white South Africans, we are raised in what I think is a historical void. So we're raised with this idea that apartheid was bad, but the first democratic elections happened and now we're free. And because we're living in the suburbs, and we are the majority in the private schools, we don't see the vast contrasts in that idea. And so I think over the last few years I've had to have many mind shifts in that regard, in that the lives are harshly contrasted in South Africa, and this idea of a united rainbow nation is, just some rhetoric that was sold to, make us feel a bit more excited about this democracy, but really isn't the case. I think more, as you said, particularly over the last year, we've had quite a shock when it comes to how different South Africans are living their lives, and particularly amongst interracial relationships. I've had to really come to terms with basically living a lie when it comes to my black counterparts that had been in private schools with me, and how differently those realities unfolded.
Zianda, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, because I think for a long time in South Africa, very similar to America around the time that Barack Obama was elected president, we sort of fooled ourselves to thinking we're post-race now. After '94, we're post-race, we're post a lot of these different things, and yes, it works on an aspirational level, but you can't go from where we are with like structural inequality to just going, oh, we're post-race, so everything will fall into place if we imagine it so. So it's been really, really fascinating to see the similarities and also obviously differences between what's been happening in America with Black Lives Matter and a lot of the movements there, and then in South Africa. And I won't ever say that Roads Must Fall sparked it, but definitely to have had a mass conscientization, I think, in the past 2 to 3 years, where on a mass scale people are having really difficult conversations that we tried to gloss over, post '94. So I'm very excited to be in a space like that, because where you're really grappling with things that you thought were behind you, or that other people thought were behind them, and so they kind of forced people to go, oh no, we live in a much better country. But
Absolutely.
I'm very, very glad that we're finally having these conversations.